Alright, this is from week 11 discussion, the worksheet. That is a good study guide. Okay, so for problems 1 and 2, it's really just a matter of knowing what to do first and then doing it correctly. So what we would do first on this problem is, let me make that a different color. Do this in parentheses. Let's be true. And then do this in parentheses. And then do all the multiplication. So let's knock out these parentheses. Okay, if we were to do negative 3 minus 7, what that looks like is you have to add the opposite. And this is often what people forget to do. You change the subtraction to addition and add the opposite. So what you have is negative 3 plus negative 7. So the answer is negative 10. Let's keep the negative 10 in the parentheses. And then over here, let's stretch this out on both ends. Over here we have negative 9 times negative 2, which is negative 18. And we'll keep that in parentheses also. So what we have now, if we bring down the rest of the problem, we still have the 12 in front of the parentheses. We have the plus 4 times the negative 10 minus 10 plus 2, and we have that negative 18, so it's 2 times the negative 18, and then plus 4 times 9. And we'll just do that x in there. Okay. So we go to the next line. What we're going to do next is all the multiplication. There's the 12 times negative 10, the 4 times negative 10, the 2 times negative 18, and the 4 times 9. So let me bracket all of that. This multiplication, 2 times negative 18. Don't be tempted to add anything. You have to do all your multiplication first. So let's do each one of those. 12 times negative 10 is negative 120. Then 4, we still have the plus there. Let's keep the plus sign. 4 times negative 10 is negative 40. So we have a plus negative 40. Then we keep the subtraction sign, we keep the 10, and then we do 2 times negative 18, which is negative 36. So we have minus, well, you could say plus minus 36. Then, because we have a negative 36, then we keep the plus sign and we do 4 times 9, which is 36. Okay, so now what we have is math, adding and subtracting, going left to right. So we're going to take the negative 20 plus the negative 40. When you add two negatives, you just add, and the answer is negative. So negative 120 plus negative 40 is negative 160. So we have the rest of the problem, which is minus 10 plus minus 36 plus 36. So then we just keep going left to right. Now we do the negative 160 minus 10. Remember, when you have a minus with integers, you have to add, so you change it to addition, and then change this to the opposite because you're adding the opposite. So it's adding 160 plus negative 10. And that answer would then be negative 170. Then we could cheat. You will get the answer, it doesn't matter. We could just go ahead and do negative 36 plus 36, which is 0, which then gives us for the entire problem an answer of negative 170. If you had done it the other way, negative 170 plus negative 36, if you added negative 36 and then added a positive 36, it would still end up negative 170. So that's the answer on number 1. On number 2, what we're going to do with this one, because we have a variable that we're going to solve for. In this case, we can't solve inside the parentheses. We have to use the distributive property. And then we could start to solve for the variable. So you multiply negative 6 times 3, and then we're going to multiply negative 6 times negative 2d. What that looks like is negative 6 times 3, the first one, is negative 18. Then we're going to take negative 6 times negative 2d, which is a positive 12d. As you multiply the negative 6 times the negative 2, which is a positive 12. And the d doesn't go anywhere. Just like if you had 2, and we'll write it out with dots, for example. No, that's difficult. Let's write it with parentheses. 2 times 4 times x. Doesn't matter when you multiply, you can't multiply x times really anything. The x stays where it is, but 4 times 2 can be multiplied, and that's 8x. If it were the other way, as I was starting to type, 2 times x times 4, it still is 8x, because the only numbers you can multiply are 2 and 4, and the x just stays there until you divide to get the 8 away from it. Okay, so negative 6 times negative 2d is plus 12d. Then we would add our other part of the formula. So now we have this expression, which we have to isolate the variable, but first we're going to get 18 to the other side of the equation. So when you want to pull 18 over here, you have to do the opposite. So it's negative 18, and it's subtracted here, so you have to add it to both sides. So you're adding 18 to both sides to move it, and that would be plus 18. So then you have a new problem of, this is 0 plus 12d equals 28. And of course that plus 0 is not relevant. It's 12d equals 28. So what you're going to do is divide by 12 on both sides of the equation to get the d separated, because it's multiplied. 12 is multiplied. Okay. So that takes care of 12 over 12, because 12 over 12 is 1. So you have d equals 28 twelfths. And let's type that in. D equals 28 over 12, which can be reduced. You can reduce that to, and we'll do it up here, 28 can be divided by 4, and so can 12. So we'll divide by 4 for both the numerator and the denominator, and that will give us 7/3, which is 2 1/3. How did I get 2 1/3? Well, if you remember, to change an improper fraction to a mixed fraction, You divide the bottom into the top. Oops. So that's 3 divided into 7, which is 2. Times 3 is 6. Subtract 1. So 2 and 1/3, because the remainder becomes the numerator. This is always the denominator, as it was here. And this is the quotient, which is the whole number. So d equals 2 and 1/3.